Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another mock draft from the channel. Today we have three people, triple mock draft, and it might be a bit longer, but how this mock draft will work is we will rotate picks. So I'll do the first one, Suraj will do the second one, Charlie will do the third one, then it'll go back to me like that, and we will each talk about each pick. You guys absolutely love these drafts. We get so many views, so many likes, so many comments, so keep that up. Share with a friend. Subscribe if you're new for mock draft content. The season's over, so we'll be pumping out so much more content. Since these videos do very well, I want to let you guys know we are going to start a series where we talk about, we try to do every single team that it'll mostly be top 5, just players they should draft in the draft. So we'll do a series of that, try to do every single team. So if you guys do like mock draft content, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss when we start with that series. But let's get into the pick. I'll start with pick number 1. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence. You've seen this from every single mock draft. I'm sure I'm sick of it. There's not much to talk about. He's the best player in the draft. He will be a great quarterback. You have Urban Meyer, the new coach. The Jaguars are rebuilding, and Trevor Lawrence is that player they will rebuild around.
Yeah, not much to say there. I think it's a pretty obvious one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think Trevor Lawrence, he's just almost a perfect prospect, but best as luck. I'd be surprised if they go in the other direction. Moving on to the second pick. If you've been watching previous mock drafts, you know I've always been taking Zach Wilson like I will be doing now. I think even you've had former players like Joe Theismann saying that Wilson could potentially be better than Lawrence with his. Right. I think the only thing I really don't like, the only concerns are, again, his strength of competition, which again Josh Allen played for Wyoming, didn't go against the best competition. He's one of the best quarterbacks. And the other concern maybe is size, but he can definitely bulk up. I think he'll be fine in those categories. Got a strong arm, can execute many systems very well, especially the LaFleur system. So I think he will be great for New York, and I think this is a great starting place for the Jets' new rebuild.
Yeah, 100%. I think they definitely need to look at that offense. They need to focus on that offense first. I think that Zach Wilson, he may not be good. Like Josh Allen wasn't very good in his first season. He was just okay. Also, second season wasn't as good as it was this year. But I think Zach Wilson, even if it takes him a couple years, the Jets aren't going to be Super Bowl contenders for a few years. So he has that time to develop into a really well-rounded player, and I think he can do that. We've seen it happen before, and I think Zach Wilson will be a good fit in New York.
Yeah, I'm assuming they'll move on from Darnold. I would be a fan if they took Sewell here, even if they took Devontae Smith here. But quarterback, I think, is a need for the Jets this offseason, whether you stay with Darnold or not. If you guys have been watching, again, our videos, I've been a fan of the Deshaun Watson route. However, we obviously can't do trades or et cetera. So I think if they're going to take quarterback, I think Wilson, in my opinion, is far better than Fields. I've been saying that for a while. Suraj has really brought that to light. So I think Wilson's a great pick. If you're a quarterback right now going to the Saleh and LaFleur system, you're going to be very, very good, and I think they're going to be nurtured, and Wilson will turn into a great, great quarterback for this Jets organization. But Suraj, third pick.
Yeah, no, I think.
Oh, sorry, Charlie.
This pick is the most controversial pick yet. Right. I think Lawrence was easy at number 1. Zach Wilson was pretty easy at number 2. Number 3, I think it's really between 3 players at this point. Penei Sewell, who is the best tackle in the class by a long shot, and then the 2 top receivers in the draft in Jamar Chase and Devonta Smith. I think Devonta Smith is the more likely of the 2. However, I mean, Jamar Chase, we've seen he can do great things, and I think him sitting out this year wasn't amazing for his draft stock. Obviously, it didn't fall very far, but he possibly fell to that wide receiver number 2. However, I do think that they will take Devonta Smith here. I think receivers a bigger need to try to get Tua the help he needs offensively. I just think that if they do end up trading for Deshaun Watson as well, he'll need weapons. So I think it's got to be Devonta Smith here.
Yeah, I think I like that. If they were to go with Watson, this pick probably wouldn't be theirs. But yeah, no, I agree. I think it's tough because you brought in Jackson, you have a young offensive line, you obviously have Hunt there. I think Sewell, and again, I mean, it's really, as the draft goes on and on, I mean, Chase could be the better quarterback. Obviously, Zach Wilson couldn't. I mean, Slater, with his value to move around this offensive line, could be, to certain teams, valued more. I mean, Slater, by some people, is ranked as number 1 offensive tackle. I think it is Sewell. But yeah, I agree with Smith. I mean, the most dynamic receiver I've ever seen in college football my entire life. And I think he pairs up with Tua, because if they have this pick, it'll be Tua. Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say something, sure. Sorry, guys. Yeah. But going on to our next pick, we have the Falcons. Now, this again is a tougher pick because you get Matt Ryan, somebody I've been saying for a long time. You get him Arthur Smith, offensive coach, someone who he hasn't had for a long time. And this offense really, the problem has not been scoring. They've been able to score. And I saw the funniest thing is I watched videos, each NFL team's season in a Simpsons clip. And it was the Falcons, and it was a guy walking around a parking lot stepping on what are the things you use? Rakes, and just stepping on it came and hit them in the face, and he just kept stepping on rakes and hitting them in the face. It was their defense. It was entirely their defense. They had young corners. They had injuries everywhere. But, I mean, I think defensively there's not a player you would take here, so I'm going to go with Penei Sewell. I think it's just I think the talent he has is too hard to pass up on, and I think Matt Ryan is good for another year or two. And I think there's so many quarterbacks on the market. I like Sewell here. I think he's just such a dominant player, second level, laterally he's great, and I think he's the best tackle by a mile.
Yeah, I agree. I think Sewell's a great pick for an Atlanta offense that's kind of struggling on the offensive line a bit. I think that probably means either moving on from Jake Matthews or Caleb McGarry, who you drafted with the first-round pick. So I think it's worth it, though. Penei Sewell, he's one of the best tackle prospects in a while, and I think it makes sense for Atlanta to kind of maybe make that next push.
Yeah, I think the problem for Atlanta here is this is an offense-heavy first round. This is, I think, potentially only 5 or 6 defensive players going in the top 20 is very realistic. I think it's possible that the first 10 picks are all offense. That's the problem for Atlanta. With pick number 4, there's no clear defensive player to take because they could use pretty much everything defensively. And there's just no defensive player that matches the talent of some of these offensive players. However, I don't love the Sewell pick. I think Sewell's amazing, but I don't think he's the best positional need. I think drafting someone like Justin Fields wouldn't be terrible here because although Matt Ryan may have one more year, you can sit Justin Fields for a year. We've seen it happen before. We'll see it happen again, I'm sure, with some of the quarterbacks that get taken this year. I think Justin Fields would be a good fit. He'll sit for a year, and then he'll be throwing to guys like Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. I think Atlanta could be a good fit for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think Justin Fields would definitely be a solid pick for Atlanta in the future. But moving on to the 5th pick, now the Bengals, who unfortunately got their top prospect off the board. So I think they will go with some people even have him as the number 1 tackle prospect. I think he's not as far back as people think, but Rashawn Slater from Northwestern, again, really good guard, tackle flexibility. He can play really any position on the offensive line, which is great for a team. He is, as you saw, he shut down opponents like Chase Young, who went 2nd overall in last year's draft, so that's very promising. Did opt out this season, but that didn't seem to hurt his stock too much. He's very strong. He's got very great lateral quickness, so I think he's a good pick here for Cincy.
Yeah, I agree. I think Rashawn Slater, they need an offensive lineman, and Rashawn Slater's the best on the board now that Sewell's gone. I like that pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think Slater, I think the Bengals, not like every other team, they're looking for versatility on that offensive line as Burrow got hammered this year. That sounds sus. Sorry. He got sacked. That's just the unfortunate. And I think the mobility of Slater to basically play all 5 positions on the offensive line is very useful. And again, Slater and Sewell, there's a difference, but if you really look at their film, it's not a gigantic difference. Both of them opted out this year. So it's a tough one, but I think Slater, if Sewell's gone, I think it's still offensive lineman. And I think they're so mad that Sewell fell from the Dolphins and the Jets, and the upset pick, my pick for the Falcons was Sewell.
Yeah, I think that now moving on to pick number 6 with the Eagles, I think that this one also is a pretty easy pick. I think the Eagles need help in 2 spots. That's wide receiver and defense, if that could even be a spot. But they're secondary. Receivers and secondary. And I think that they'll just go with the top player that's on the board at this point. If Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle are both off the board, which I don't see happening, they'll take Patrick Surtain or Caleb Farley.
At least not Waddle.
Yeah, I don't see Waddle being gone at this point. I could see Chase going or Waddle going, but not both of them. So I think with Jamar Chase on the board, they're not going to pass up on that. And I'm going to take Jamar Chase here. I just think they need so much help at the wide receiver spot. They didn't have a true number one receiver this year, and Chase could be that number one receiver next year. Like, that's all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, you got a young quarterback in Hurts. You got a new coach. You got to right now it's about developing Hurts, and I think Jamar Chase fits that. So, and I think even if Waddle was here, if Chase say were to go, I mean, say
if Chase
Smith
were to go,
went to
I'd
the
take
Jets
Waddle.
or whatever. I mean, because Chase has been heavily mocked to the Bengals. I think Surtain's a great talent, but we've seen how corners are more likely to bust in the NFL. So I'm a fan of Chase.
Yeah, I agree. I think at this point, the Eagles don't really have much help at the receiver position besides maybe Dallas Goedert. They need another wide receiver. So I think Jamar Chase fits the bill for a number one receiver in future years to come.
All right, let's get on to the Lions pick. You got Jared Goff. You got 2 firsts and you got a third. Now, I'm assuming this is the tough thing because, I mean, they might move on from Goff. You could probably get some capital somewhere. Do you go with Waddle? I mean, Surtain. The Lions are a poor team. You lost your best player in Stafford. So do they go Fields? I think they do because I don't trust Goff. This is more of a what I would do, and I think they go Fields because I'm not a fan of Goff. I think he's immobile and he's young and he's immobile. That's two things that are actually no, they're not bad, but being immobile when you're young is not good unless you're incredibly accurate, which he's not. Unless you can win games, which he can't. And I'm not a fan of it. I mean, I know he brought the Rams this year, but I think on a worse Lions team, a much worse Lions team, and Galladay might not be back. Marvin Jones might not be back. If I'm the Lions organization, I probably wouldn't put too much trust in Goff. Maybe you start him for the year and then you bring in Fields. But I think Fields is another quarterback like Lance who can sit for a year and then go in. But I feel like quarterbacks, and even Wilson, but Lawrence, I feel like is that guy who goes in and plays immediately. But I think Fields can sit for a little as he's had some arising problems, which has made his stock fall a tiny bit.
Yeah, I actually don't love this one. I think that Jared Goff, we saw what he did with the Rams a few years ago when they made that Super Bowl push.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might not have been so much Jared Goff as Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was amazing that year.
Right.
And he's the reason they probably didn't win the Super Bowl. His injury, whatever it was. And I think that Goff, if you give him a receiving core like he had in Los Angeles those years with like Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, I think that I would have taken probably Jalen Waddle here. I think if you're able to re-sign Kenny Galladay, if you're able to re-sign Marvin Jones, you've got Galladay, Jones, Waddle, Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift started to play well towards the end of the season for a few games. I think that's a pretty solid offense for Goff to build around, and they could have made considerable progress next year. But I don't hate the quarterback pick.
Yeah, I don't hate it either. I think Jared Goff clearly won't be the answer, although maybe they just want him to steady the ship for a year before they take a quarterback. But I think right now, Justin Fields, he's got such high upside. And Anthony Lynn is a really good offensive coordinator, in my opinion. So I think it's not a terrible pick. Again, Waddle would have been a good option as well, but I'm fine with it. But now moving on to the 8th pick, you got the Carolina Panthers, and I will have them taking the 4th quarterback in 8 picks, Trey Lance from North Dakota State. I think more and more in the future years in the NFL, you're going to see more and more of the high upside quarterbacks going early with what we saw with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. So I think Trey Lance, again, he's got that huge arm. He threw for 28 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. That was only one season, but it's really, really promising. And I think with that big arm, he can kind of harness that talent and really set him for a year under Teddy B. I think Carolina will be contenders if he really develops.
Yeah, for sure. I like this pick. Teddy Bridgewater wasn't the answer. That's clear. So take Trey Lance, maybe sit him for a little while behind Bridgewater. See if Bridgewater gives them any chance at the playoffs. If not, you put in your rookie. That's all there is.
Yeah, and I agree. Trey Lance has been mocked a lot. I think Trey Lance has a gigantic upside, just like Fields. If anything, he might have one of the biggest upsides in the draft, more than Wilson, because we've seen what Lawrence and Wilson can do. Now, I'm a fan of Bridgewater. I like the signing this offseason. I think it paid off. It didn't pay off. He was okay. Again, he was okay. He didn't have a running back. He had 3 great receivers. didn't have a running back in McCaffrey, which puts on so much more of the load to throw the ball when you don't have the guy you can pound the ball with in McCaffrey. But I agree. I think Lance sits behind. I think it's like so many quarterbacks we see that become great. Herbert, prime example. They sit. If not, the player gets injured. They go in. It's the perfect time, and they play amazing. So, yeah, I like Lance here. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to pick number 9, the Denver Broncos. Now, we've seen 8 straight offensive players go, and I think that
I didn't even
I think
notice
it's
that.
finally time for a defensive player. I think that, as you can see right there, their top team needs are edge rusher and corner. Obviously, we've seen Von Miller's getting older; he's not performing as well. Bradley Chubb, he's young. He's been good. I know he was hurt his rookie year, but he looked better, and I think that makes this pick pretty easy between Surtain and Kwity Paye. I think that just the bigger need has been more in the pass rush, and I'm going to take Kwity Paye here. I think that the secondary with Bryce Callahan and Justin Simmons, it's not awful, not as bad as their D line was, in my opinion. I just think that Kwity Paye is a better fit here than Surtain.
Yeah, I'm more in favor of cornerback or secondary cornerback. Because Boye, I don't know what's gonna happen with him. I think he has a gigantic contract and did nothing this year. Simmons, I believe, is a free agent, so he might not be re-signing. And Callahan, I mean, yeah, I didn't see much. I think Ojemudia was great, putting kind of that cornerback true. 1 spot, the 3rd round pick out of Iowa. But I like Kwity Paye. Agree. I've mocked it. I've mocked corner. I've mocked edge. I think they go either way. But I think right now corner I'm leaning towards a bit. But I think if anything, it makes my Cowboys pick easier. So
Serge,
I'm gonna
anything.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, I think it's a solid pick. I think Surtain and Farley also would have been good options in the secondary, considering again with Boye and Von Miller's still there, so we don't know yet what will happen with them. So I still think Kwity Paye is a solid pick with this high upside.
Let's get on to the Cowboys pick. I think it makes it a lot easier for them, and I am going to go. It's tough because really Caleb Farley and Surtain, the difference is almost nothing. And I think it's a little bit, but I mean, really, if you look, Farley's very, very good, and Surtain's very good. I'm going to go with Surtain. I think he's the best cover guy in the class. But I think if Surtain were to go to the Broncos, I don't think the Cowboys would have any problem snatching up Farley. You have Trayvon Diggs, young corner. You have obviously Wilson in that secondary. And you'll hopefully get Dak back, and I think they'll be right back in the playoff run next year. And I think Surtain just shores up that secondary, which is the biggest problem there. I don't think they go receiver, obviously. So Surtain's a pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good pick because you have a new GC, Dan Quinn, coming in, and Surtain's pretty solid at playing in zone coverage, and I think he has the tools to play in both coverages. And I think with a new system, the best you can do is get some chemistry, and I think Trayvon Diggs and Patrick Surtain should have that from the get-go, so I like that pick.
Yeah, I think that Mike McCarthy's going to be getting so nervous. He needs to see Surtain on that board come around pick number 10. I think that those first 9 picks go, and at least those first 8 we all saw offensive players, so he's not going to be as worried there. But then that Broncos pick could really go either way. And even, I mean, the Panthers or Lions, like anybody sort of later in that top 10 could foreseeably be taking Patrick Surtain. The Eagles could. I think that he'll be really happy with a Surtain pick.
Mm-hmm. Now moving on to the 11th pick, you got the New York Giants, who coincidentally you guys those are you guys' favorite teams.
The one pick me and Charlie.
I honestly, if I was honestly the Giants GM, I would go with the pure best player available, and in my opinion, that's Kyle Pitts from Florida. I think he's a matchup nightmare. You really need to get Daniel Jones, someone who's an instant impact player. And while defense, maybe linebacker could be a nice pick, the number one concern you have is Daniel Jones the answer? And to find that out, you have to get him weapons. I think Kyle Pitts is a really great, affordable weapon that will contribute from day one.
Yeah, I think that from my first mock draft, I've sort of just thought that I didn't want the tight end pick here because who drafts a tight end this early?
Yeah, but I think the difference is
we have a supposedly all-pro tight end, or Pro Bowl tight end in Evan Ingram. He's not a Pro Bowler. No offense to Evan Ingram, but
no offense to you, Evan Ingram.
He should not
I,
be in the Pro Bowl. There were so many better tight ends, and I think that Kyle Pitts could play at tight end. He can also play as receiver. We've lacked a true number one receiver for, I mean,
since
really
Odell Beckham.
since like Odell and Victor Cruz, and the fact that they both left within a few years of each other, it kind of hurt. And Sterling Shepard just never lived up to anything. Slayton didn't have as good of a second year as he had a first year, but I'm okay with this pick. I've liked Pitts more and more. He could play really anywhere on that offense. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, something I've been saying is Darnold and Jones, we don't know what they've been without. I mean, you can't judge them without weapons. I think Darnold, they'll probably move on since they have such a high pick. I like Pitts. I think he's versatile, which is why people shoot up in draft boards. Pitts has been a mismatch everywhere across the field. Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I think Pitts or Waddle, I think it's a receiver or something.
I think it has to be
catch
here.
the ball. Yeah. All right, so sorry, it's my pick. Let's go on to the next pick we have. I always forget. We have the 49ers. Now, I think this is the pick where I think the Niners will most likely trade up with either the Dolphins, there's a ton of teams they could trade up with. I've basically seen that in all of the mock drafts that have been able to trade up. Corners in need, inside offensive lineman. I've been mocking it a while. I'm going to go with Caleb Farley, who I actually did not see fell. I'm going to go with Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. I think even if J.C. Horn was here, it wouldn't be a reach, but I think they're in need of corner. Richards, they basically have no corner signed, maybe Verrett, but obviously Sherman will leave, and I'm a big fan of Farley. I think if he falls, he fits with that defense. I think if you're a defensive player going to the Niners who'll be back and healthy will be incredible.
Yeah, I think Farley's the right pick here. I'm just looking at the top of the board, and Farley's just the best player available for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think Farley's a good pick just because I think he can really execute that cover 3 scheme that the Niners are going to implement really well. And I think he's really got a lot of physical gifts. He opted out as well, but doesn't seem to hurt him. And I think the Niners desperately need corners with how many that are set to be unrestricted free agents this year.
Yeah, Serge, your pick, 13.
13.
I think it's Charlie's pick.
Oh, Charlie, it is your pick.
No, Kean, you just picked Farley.
Wait, so it's me. Yeah, Serge, it is your pick. Sorry. I think we messed it up. Whatever. Serge, you can
Yeah. No, I think we – okay. Anyway, so we got number 13 now for the Los Angeles Chargers. And when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, got to protect the Golden Goose and Justin Herbert. So I will go with Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. And I think when you look at him, he's just so physically gifted, such a mammoth. He's really a great offensive lineman that you want to have, and you got to make sure before you get all the pieces for Herbert, which again would be really nice for him, you need to make sure that he's safe in the pocket, that he can step up, that he can also not fear for on his blind side. And as we saw in the Super Bowl, pass protection and tackles are very important. So I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, I really like this pick. I think that offensive line is something they need to just protect Herbert. I could also see them going with someone like Jalen Waddle just to shore up their receiving core. That would be an amazing receiving core.
That
with
would be
Waddle
really good.
Plus Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Hunter Henry. That would be ridiculous.
Well,
But
Hunter
yeah,
Henry might be leaving.
Yeah, that's possible. It's possible that Hunter Henry leaves, but if they keep him, that's incredible. Plus, Eckler's got the receiving threat out of the back, but I like Darrisaw. Darrisaw's a good pick here.
That's good. Yeah, I agree. I think it's offensive line. Again, it's either Cosme, Darrisaw. I mean, it's a very deep offensive, or at least offensive tackle class. Big fan of Darrisaw, big guy of Virginia Tech. Really showed out this year. Back-to-back Virginia Tech boys off the board, and I think it's either protection. I would lean towards the Waddle pick in terms of just I think that would be amazing to see because I think that would be incredible offense. But I'm a fan of the Darrisaw pick.
Yeah, so moving on to 14, we've got the Vikings here. I think that the Vikings are a team that really doesn't deserve a pick this good. I don't know how they did so poorly this year. It really surprised me. I don't think there's really anything that they need so much that's at the top of the board, but I'm going to go with Samuel Cosme. I think there's never too much of a harm in just improving your offensive line. They have an all right offensive line, and Cosme's a good O-lineman. I think he'll be good from snap number 1, day number 1. I think that Cosme's just a good pick, an O-line pick for the Vikings.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a fan of the pick. I think it's, is Ezra Cleveland has been moved around on the line. I think Cosme shares of that tackle spot. I think, yeah. I mean, I agree. I don't know how they have a pick this high, but
Yeah,
I
they
mean, they
really
should
just
have a
don't
healthy
need.
defense back next year. Cosme's a good guy. Someone who's been a bit, people are kind of starting to show more doubts on him, but I think it's a offensive line pick because I think inside offensive line is more of a need, but there's no good enough ones to take here.
Yeah, I agree. I think I like the Cosme pick just because I think that it fills an important need with again Ezra Cleveland moving around, and people forget how big Cosme is. 6'7". He's a
Yeah.
mammoth, and he'll be huge in protecting whoever the quarterback is for the Vikings next year's blind side. So I think it's a good pick.
All right. It is my pick. Okay, I remembered. Going on to the Patriots pick, it's got to be Jalen Waddle. I mean, if he falls all the way, I think it has to be. If Pitts was here, it'd be closer. But again, I feel like if Waddle would go to the Giants, then it would be Pitts who were to fall here, and then vice versa, obviously, as it has here. They've been basically, I can't remember the last time that the Patriots had an explosive wide receiver. They have not had a guy who is their target guy. N'Keal Harry, who's been the late round bust. Obviously, Edelman has not played well without his father, Tom Brady. So I think Waddle's a pick here.
Yeah, I think that the last time they had a number one receiver was an unrecognized Julian Edelman. I think that Edelman
Right.
was so much of a bigger weapon on offense than people realized. He really was that wide receiver one. I don't think a lot of people thought of him that way, but he was definitely, I mean, Brady's top option for years upon years, aside with Rob Gronkowski. So I think Jalen Waddle would be a perfect pick for them here. Just give whoever their starting quarterback may be going into the season, just give him a fast wide receiver to throw to. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think possibly Micah Parsons here. Belichick may have gone defensive here, but I think Jalen Waddle, he's so explosive, and there's a huge need at wide receiver for New England, so I think Waddle's a good pick for them. Now moving on to the 16th pick, you got the Arizona Cardinals. And if you're the Cardinals, I think it's tempting to pair Micah Parsons considering he's this far down
Oh
with
my
Isaiah
God.
Simmons.
I
That's
didn't even
really
think of
tempting.
that.
However, I think the need a quarter is too big. So I think
Yeah.
you pair him with a physical, good corner in J.C. Horn. I think he'll learn a lot from playing under with Patrick Peterson, and I expect the Cardinals defense to improve a lot.
Oh,
Yeah,
now that
I
you've
like
said that,
that.
I really want Parsons to go there.
That would be
That would
crazy.
be, I mean, because in terms of athletically gifted players, they're very similar, Parsons and Simmons. And, you have Simmons who can blitz. Parsons who can blitz, Simmons who can cover. That would be incredible. Simmons who wasn't incredible this year, but that would be very good. But I agree. Peterson
Yeah,
who
it
might
would
not even
be.
be
Yeah,
there. We don't
that's
know
true.
if he'll stay. And you obviously have Byron Murphy, who I've been very high on out of Washington. I love J.C. Horn. I think very aggressive corner to pair up with obviously Buda Baker and hopefully Chandler Jones when he comes back.
Yeah, it would be complete deja vu from last year. We saw they got Isaiah Simmons, who was possibly the steal of the draft at what was it, pick number 8 or 9. Um, that was pretty ridiculous. The fact that so many teams passed up on him, and now if they were able to get Micah Parsons at pick 16, that would be crazy. I don't think they will, Serge. I think this is a better pick with J.C. Horn. The corner is a bigger need, but that would be ridiculous. Moving on to 17, though, the Las Vegas Raiders. This pick is also difficult. Micah Parsons, Joseph Asai. I think Micah Parsons is the better player. Joseph Asai is probably a fractionally bigger need. However, I am going to go with Parsons. I don't love the linebacking core in Vegas. I think Parsons is an incredible player, possibly one of the best defensive talents in the draft. I'm going to take Parsons here.
Yeah, I think Parsons has been falling. Parsons was someone who could arguably be taken at 3 to the Dolphins.
Yeah, he could be top
Someone who's
5.
fallen a ton. I love Parsons. I think just off-field problems have dropped him. I can see him taking care of Mo here. I think linebackers is the pick, but and maybe pass rusher. Maybe you go Sai, who's actually risen a lot. Yeah, I like Parsons. I think the way he's athletically built is incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I think right now Micah Parsons, he falling there, I think you want a guy who really epitomizes the modern NFL. He's fast, he's strong, he can play coverage, he could be a pure Mike linebacker. I think with so many problems on that Las Vegas defense, they needed that guy who could be that quarterback. So Micah Parsons there.
All right. Now the Dolphins is my pick? Yes, it is. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Going on to the Dolphins pick, their second pick of the first round. They have 18. Here's a tough one, but I feel like I haven't seen stuff. I think they go Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I think linebackers a pick here. I mean, maybe they go Najee Harris, but I think it's just a bit of a reach here. And I think it would be Parsons if not Owusu-Koramoah. And I think Owusu-Koramoah probably is the better linebacker right now. Someone I literally say this every time Malcolm saw him in the game against Alabama. He's gigantic. And as someone who's field to field, athletic, obviously field to field, sideline to sideline, and obviously Van Noy with a gigantic contract getting into his 30s, you will most likely offload him, and then you have Koramoah to fit right in there.
Yeah, I really like Koramoah. I think he's a really amazing linebacker. I think he's fighting for that number one linebacker in the class. I think Parsons just edges him out by a little bit. However, I think that the Dolphins, they drafted, at least for us, they were able to draft Devonta Smith at pick number 3. I think why not just shore up your offense and draft either Najee Harris or Travis Etienne, depending on the type of your running back you're looking for. I'm not opposed to Koramoah. I think they could use the help at linebacker. However, I mean, I probably would have gone with, either Harris or Etienne. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think the pick is okay for the Dolphins, considering that they really need a pure linebacker. Considering you don't know what's happening with Kyle Van Noy or Landon Roberts, so I think Koramoah works here.
All right,
Serge, you got 19.
you got 19 here.
I do have 19. My bad. So, the Washington football team now have the 19th pick, and Mac Jones is available. I don't think he fits exactly right now. I think Washington are more likely to go for a quarterback in free agency or maybe the draft. So I think we all know Kean's been very high on this guy for a while. I'm going to go with Rashad Bateman from Minnesota. As I said, Rashad Bateman's really good receiver. He's great on RPOs. He's really good at just classic the class routes like slants. He's a good route runner. He's just I think obviously Washington, they have a really good up and coming team, but I think they need that complement weapon to Terry McLaurin. I think that's what Bateman is.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that if you look at the Washington team needs and then the board right now, they don't need Joseph Asai. They don't need an edge rusher. They don't need a running back. They have Antonio Gibson. They don't need Elijah Vera Tucker. Their offensive line has looked good. Zaven Collins, they could use a linebacker. So that makes it's either Rashad Bateman, Zaven Collins, or Terrace Marshall. And Rashad Bateman's clearly the better receiver. I think there's no doubt a doubt of that. So I think that this is a good pick. Bateman's a good receiver. He's going to be, a pair up with Terry McLaurin. I like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went Tevin Jenkins here. I think, if not Vera Tucker, because their offensive line isn't the best. And I mean, who knows? I mean, what if they surprise and go Mac Jones? Like, there's a ton of things, but obviously, Mr. Bateman, who I've loved for a long time, someone I think could become the best receiver. I think his route running is incredible. Again, I'm as well. Someone I'm very high on is Terry McLaurin, and I think he pairs up with him, and they get that duo they've needed for a long time. On to the Chicago Bears. Oh, that's your pick, Charlie.
So the Bears pick, this is an interesting one. I think if Lance was on the board, the pick here would probably be Lance, but I don't see Lance being on the board here. There are enough teams that need him. I'm looking at the board. Edge rusher, not a big need. Running back, not a big need. Inside O-line, I could see them taking Vera Tucker here. And Trubisky looked all right this year, but for some reason, I just feel like the Bears' offense
and it's looking like Wentz will go.
Yeah, the Bears' offense just doesn't like Trubisky, and I don't know why. I am okay with Trubisky. I know he's not amazing right now, but they haven't really given him a super fair shot. This year, they benched him to Foles, which I don't think was the right move. Foles isn't a franchise quarterback. So here I'm going to take Elijah Vera Tucker. I think the improvement on the offensive line is needed if you get a guy like Carson Wentz, who has played behind a good offensive line in Philadelphia and still just been all right. he needs protection in order for him to find his targets. If they keep Allen Robinson, he'll have a good number one receiver. He didn't have one in Philly. I like the pick.
Yeah, I agree. Again, just not been sorry, I'm currently getting FaceTimed. But again, I'm not a very big fan of Trubisky. I think he's got to go somehow, and it's looking more and more likely like Wentz will come, but it's looking like Foles will be the returning quarterback back to Philadelphia, so Trubisky will stay. Again, I mean, it's just the Bears got to do something. You got to either go all in for Trubisky or not, and I think right here, yeah, quarterback won't be there. Unfortunately, it's looking more and more likely like a quarterback won't be there. So I think it will most likely be Tucker, but I would love Terrace Marshall, and I think if Bateman fall, it could be him as well. But again, fan of the pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Bears have really kind of had a problem at offensive line for a little while. They were a bit better when they stayed healthy, but I still think they need someone to protect their quarterback. If it's Wentz, whether or not, I think it's a problem there. So I think Bear Tucker's a good pick.
All right, the Colts pick. I'm gonna do it. Mac Jones. I'm gonna pull the trigger immediately. Mac Jones will be the pick because it's looking like Wentz will leave, or sorry, Wentz will go to. I'm pretty sure that deal is like very close. And again, I've been saying it all the time. Mac Jones is a pure pocket passer. You put him into the best offensive line in the league. You have Taylor who can pound the ball a lot. You have Pittman who should be great next year. Hopefully T.Y. Hilton who arose. That's not how you say it. Who riz up at the end of the season. I just not saying that right. But I think Mac Jones is a pure pocket quarterback, someone who's very accurate, strong arm. We obviously saw him with that Alabama team, so I guess there's questions: can he play with a team that's not as good? But I'm a fan of the pick here.
Yeah, I think that, again, I don't mean to be repetitive, but like the Colts, again, are a team that doesn't need an edge rusher in Joseph Asai, doesn't need a running back from Harris or Etienne, doesn't need a linebacker in Zaven Collins, doesn't really need a receiver in Marshall. Again, Rousseau is an edge rusher, Bolton's a linebacker. I think that Mac Jones is one of the only picks they can take here, and with the quarterback spot being up for grabs, I think he'll fill it well.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mac Jones, I think he's a solid pick there. I think he'll provide stability, especially if the Colts want to win the division. I think he can do it in his first season. I think they might go for a rookie quarterback, though, potentially maybe Darnold or, again, Wentz, possibly so. But I think that's a fine pick. Now going into the 22nd pick, you got the Tennessee Titans, and I think they need a pure pass rusher that can really suit their 3-4 defense. Asai really isn't that to me, so I'm going to go with Gregory Rousseau from Miami. I think he can play on multiple fronts. He can play on the outside. He can play on the inside. Probably play him a bit on the inside just to give him some comfortable, be more comfortable with his attack because again he's very raw out of college. But if they develop him right, and I think Vrabel's a very good coach, then he should be a great prospect and a great player for them for years to come.
Yeah, again, we see it all the time. Players fall and players rise, and Rousseau is someone who's plummeted. I think people notice, there's probably some better talent out there. And I'm a fan of Rousseau. I think he could become the best edge rusher out there. I think he's just very, as you said, Serge, raw, but coached right in that Vrabel system. I think you become very, very good. So I'm a fan of the pick. I think it's a pass rusher.
Yeah, I like Rousseau. I think that the pass rushers right now with Harold Landry and Jeffrey Simmons, I feel like Landry's more of an outside linebacker, so he doesn't really suit the need of lining up in that 3-4 on the defensive line, and I think that's what Rousseau offers that Asai doesn't. So I like the Rousseau pick. Now, Serge, you got my Giants pick. So now for those of you who have seen our reaction to the PFF mock draft, they did take 2 quarterbacks for the Jets, and I think the more I think about it, the quarterback competition could be really good for Zach Wilson. I think that Kyle Trask definitely has potential to win over this role. And if he doesn't win the role, I think he could make a good RB2. I think that
RB2. So you're putting Kyle Trask at running back.
If he doesn't win over quarterback, if he does, Zach Wilson's a potential offensive lineman.
Great. Thanks.
No, with this pick, I think that the Jets. I think a receiver would be a good pick here. I'm going to take Terrace Marshall. I think that they need to work on the offense before they look at the defense. They need to give Wilson weapons before they completely round out the team. I think Marshall's the top receiver on the board by a decent bit at this point. I like the Marshall pick here. I think he's been good.
I think
Yeah, I
he's a
agree.
solid player. I think he's a great big weapon that will pair well with Denzel Mims. My problem is I think that we still need help on the interior offensive line. Personally, I would have went Wyatt Davis from Ohio State, or if we wanted a slot receiver to replace Jameson Crowder, maybe Kadarius Toney, who had a really good Senior Bowl. But
Yeah.
I'm not upset with the Terrace Marshall pick.
Sorry, my dog is barking. I do agree. I think I would lean toward Kadarius Toney due to his pro Senior Bowl, and I think again he reminds me of Jameson Crowder, that slot guy, someone who's very good in running catch. But I agree, Marshall is someone I do like as well a lot, just someone who's very lethal in the air and in the red zone, and just a very very big receiver. But
Yeah,
going
that's why I
on,
went with Marshall over Toney. I
uh,
think they already have Crowder. They already have the slot receiver, and I'm just thinking they need a bigger target, someone for Wilson to throw the ball up to if they do take Wilson. You know?
all right, let's get on to the Steelers pick, where we have this is a tough one. I think it's Liam Eichenberg. No, sorry, I think it's Tevin Jenkins. I was completely messed up there. Simply because offensive line's in need. They're have minus 30 million in cap. I'm assuming Roethlisberger will most likely take that 15 million pay cut. But I think Tevin Jenkins is just the guy who fits the most for you, and I'm a fan of the pick.
Yeah, I think Tevin Jenkins is a solid pick. I think he will be a staple for the offensive line for years to come. I think Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame is a more pro-ready prospect, but Tevin Jenkins, in my opinion, has a much higher upside and had a really good year. So this is a good pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, again, I probably would have leaned towards Eichenberg, the safer pick, because the Steelers were potentially like a Super Bowl team. We saw they were what 11-0, and like without Ben Roethlisberger, or they could be with Ben Roethlisberger. I think they're more likely to be. I actually have no idea at this point. He could do anything right now, but I think if you can protect him, we've seen Big Ben has always been good. I think if you can work hard to protect him, like protect him now while he's still there, you could be a Super Bowl team. And I feel like Eichenberg, as you said, sir, is the more pro-ready talent. But yeah,
All right, Serge, you're on with Serge, you're on with the
yep.
Jaguars.
So if you're looking at the Jaguars, they don't have a very good secondary, so maybe safety could be an option. I don't think they're really to safety right now that's worthy of a first-round pick. So make sure you protect Trevor Lawrence. So I think I'm going to go with another offensive lineman. Like I said, Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame. I think he's the most pro-ready prospect. He's a plug-and-play player, and I think you need someone to protect Trevor Lawrence's blind side. Cam Robinson, not really too sure about him over his career, but so I think Liam Eichenberg is a great pick here for them.
Yeah, I agree.
You like Dylan take Paris forward in the first round. Yeah, I agree. I love Eichenberg, and we've seen what Notre Dame offensive linemen have done. And I agree. I mean, it's protect Lawrence or give him weapons. Right now, I don't think there's a receiver here. I think Tony's the best one, but you have players like Tony and Chenault and obviously Chark. Wait, yeah, that is. Sorry, I don't know why I thought that wasn't his name, but yeah, I like the pick.
Yeah, pick 26. The Browns, like, they don't need help offensively. We've seen two good running backs. Baker Mayfield started playing really well towards the end of the season. The receiving core is fine with Odell and Jarvis Landry and the 5 other receivers that he tends to throw to. So I think it's really defensive, and the fact that Joseph Asai has fallen this far, um, I feel like he'll be a hard one to pass up here. I think, however, I am going to have to pass up on him because Zaven Collins and Nick Bolton are on the board, and I think they need more help at linebacker than they do on that defensive line. And then the question is it Collins or is it Bolton? I'm going to take Collins here. I think he, in my opinion, has a higher upside. I think Collins could be very, very good in years to come. I think that he's the better pick for the Browns here.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the explosive linebacker out of Tulsa. I think Collins is one of the. It goes, Caramo and Parsons, and then it's a little bit of a drop off, and it's Collins. And again, there's a lot. I mean, Moses is there. I think linebacker's the pick, obviously, as the defense needs help. And I think if the Browns shore up that defense, they'll go even deeper into the playoffs. And I think Collins will definitely help them sideline to sideline, athletic, blitzing guy, somebody who can play in 3-4-4-3. Big fan of him.
Keen, I think it's your pick.
Always forget. We're starting to break down a little bit, everyone. Sorry about that. But going on to the Ravens pick, edge is a need, and I think it's tough. Receiver is a need, but I think Tony isn't the receiver they want. I think they want a receiver, but Tony isn't their guy. So they're gonna go with Kellen Mond on the court. Now I'm joking. They're gonna go with I think it's Osai. Because I think edge rushers a need. Calais Campbell has had a huge drop off. Tyus Bowser might leave. I'm completely forgetting the outside linebacker who's going to leave. What's 90? Judon, sorry. Will most likely leave as well. Someone who's been very dominant in the pass rush for them. And I think Osai can kind of play in both systems. I think he fits well with this Ravens team. He's a pure edge rusher. I think it's maybe him or Olujari, but it's a tough one. Ojulari every single time. But yeah, I'm a fan of the pick here.
I like the pick as well. I think Joseph Osai will be really good in that 3-4 system. Playing, he's a really good weak side linebacker and can really rush the passer when you need him to. So I think this is a good pick for Baltimore.
Yeah, I feel like unfortunately, like Osai, they would be so happy if Osai fell this far. I don't think Osai will fall this far. I don't know how we don't have him taken earlier, but I don't think he'll fall this far, unfortunately. But there are definitely other options for Baltimore.
Yeah. Now moving on to the 28th pick, you got the New Orleans Saints. I think right now you're in the position where New Orleans are going to lose a lot of players, so best player available could be in question, but I think right now when you're looking at it, I think slot receiver is still a major need, considering they don't really have someone who can help Michael Thomas yet. So again, I talked about him, Kadarius Toney. I think he's going to be a great weapon for New Orleans. Had a really good Senior Bowl. He just an overall good prospect. He has good hands, a good fluid route runner, and I think whoever was the quarterback, maybe Jameis Winston, he'll be a good, safe weapon for him.
Yeah, for sure. I like that.
Yeah, I think it's either Tony or I'm completely blanking on names. Tony or I cannot.
Rondale Moore.
Rondale Moore. I literally know them off the top of my head and just somehow forgot. Yeah, I'm a fan of Tony. I think someone who had a great Senior Bowl and is explosive and obviously with Sanders, you don't know the future there, and obviously you're gonna have quarterback who's not Drew Brees. So just give them as many weapons as possible and hope that they can prosper.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to pick 29, the Packers. I think I'm not quite sure what cornerback's the top need, because I feel like the top need for most teams should be the position that they don't have anyone, and they do have Jair Alexander. So I'm not sure why cornerback's up there, but they don't need running back Aaron Jones. They have, I think the pick here, they lost Blake Martinez and Kyler Fackrell, both the Giants this offseason. I'm going to go Nick Bolton here. I think that they need a linebacker. They don't really have any linebackers that are great, and I think Nick Bolton could be a very good linebacker.
Yeah, someone who's very aggressive, very good tackler, and I think I saw someone who had Parsons and Karamoa fall all the way down here. Obviously, they have not in this. I think linebackers you need. Again, receiver, someone who people have been saying from last year on to this year. I don't think they'll go quarterback as they mistakenly did last year. So I'm a fan of
quarterback again.
They just go quarterback again.
just to keep Aaron Rodgers motivated.
Yeah, I like Bolton.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bolton is a good pick here. They do have some nice pieces at linebacker. Like they have Barnes, who they got some Barnes undrafted. He's really good. They have had some pieces and they've really improved. I think cornerback is a big need, considering Kevin King most likely will be released. They won't re-sign him for, let's just say his
excellent play.
Excellently disappointing performance in the NFC Championship game. But I think linebacker is still fine here.
Striving to be bad.
Okay.
But, Bill's pick here is Surge's pick, not my pick. So.
No.
It is my pick. Oh, God. Hopefully people don't watch till the end.
Disappointing.
We're completely breaking down here. Bill's pick, corners in need. I don't know. I think Jalen Phillips is the pick here. And simply because I think they didn't have a pass rush or a run stop. And I think a lot of people are talking about J.J. Watt, bring him in on a one-year deal. It's looking like he might go to Pittsburgh and pair up with his brothers. But I think Jalen Phillips, again, me and Serge have talked about, could be the best pass rusher out of this class, someone who's risen a ton and could be going a lot earlier. So I think that the Bills go with him here.
Yeah, I think that I like Jalen Phillips. I like his fit with the Bills. I think a very interesting pick for them here
Etienne
would be either Harris or Etienne.
Yeah.
I think
right.
that Singletary, he had a better first year than second year, if that's possible. They just didn't run the ball this year. Allen probably led the team in carries, probably led the team in rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, all of it. Moss didn't do much. I know he was injured for a little bit, but the third-round pick did not do much. Devin Singletary also didn't do much. It would just add an entirely new dimension to their offense. And right now, they're pretty one-dimensional. It's just Josh Allen. Fortunately for them, Josh Allen has been enough. Josh Allen, led them to the AFC Championship, wasn't able to do much against the Chiefs, but Josh Allen's been enough, and I feel like with a top-class running back, the Bills and Chiefs, that could be a top rivalry for the next 15 years while Allen and Mahomes are still in the league. That would be ridiculous. But yeah, I like Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, definitely. I think Jalen Phillips is a solid pick to get some pass rush. I think, again, I think Etienne would be my pick here, but I don't mind Jalen Phillips considering his pass rush this year has been brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. Chiefs.
Oh, it's my pick, I think.
Surge.
Yeah.
Okay, so in case
Bowl
you weren't
17s.
watching, the Chiefs disappointed in the Super Bowl based on their
video coming soon.
Did that happen?
video. Yeah, I wasn't watching or something. But that offensive line was atrocious. More on that later in the next video.
Oh, you know what I saw? Mahomes was pressured 57% on his
exactly.
snaps in the first
I think it was
half,
like 29 to 56, something crazy.
Brady was pressured 9.5% because of Ali Marpet.
I saw this scrambling chart for Brady and Mahomes. It looks two different quarterbacks. It's insane.
Mahomes scrambled for 500 yards trying to get away from.
He's at 497. I think it's crazy.
497. Yeah, exactly.
So they need depth, even though they probably won't sustain the same amount of injuries. They need depth, and I think with Wyatt Davis available, I think he's the pick. Trey Smith also, another interior offensive lineman, Creed Humphrey are also solid options, but I like Wyatt Davis the most. He's the most consistent one. I think he'd be a great pick for Kansas City.
Yeah, I like the Wyatt Davis pick. I think that they greatly missed Mitchell Schwartz. They greatly missed Eric Fisher. And also Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. He took the season off. I think those were their three best O-linemen, all of whom were injured or not playing. I don't understand how any team could rebound. I don't blame them. They did not see it happening. They thought they had three O-linemen going into the season, and then they didn't. But I like the offensive line pick. Sure up the O-line. Or defense, go defense. But I think Asante Samuel wouldn't be an awful pick here just to add another corner. But I do prefer this Wyatt Davis pick.
I agree. Charlie, you're on to
the Buccaneers, who have the best team in the NFL, according to the Super Bowl. I think that their top need there is edge, and I think that's foreseeable. I don't know how Shaquille Barrett didn't win Super Bowl MVP. In my opinion, he was the X factor for the Bucs win. The pressure he put on Mahomes, just him. I think if they could give it to a unit, it's that D line or maybe the Chiefs O line. You never know. But I think that defensive lines or both, yeah. I think that they don't need much help receiving core. They don't need much help on the D line. Obviously, with some of their defensive linemen getting older, but it's not much of a need this year. They can re-sign. They can work around that. I don't think they need a running back. They don't need no linemen. I don't know.
I can take the pick here if you want.
Go for it. I think this is
I think the pick here would be Azeez Ojulari. Because JP's getting older, or Barmore. There's several different picks I think they go here. I think offensive line's never a bad thing. Besides Marpet, Jensen's been very aggressive. I wouldn't say good, but very aggressive. And obviously you have Wirfs, who's been incredible. But I think Ojari, someone who's a bendy pass rusher, can get to the quarterback like a pure guy, not a run stopper, and I think he fits there. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think Ojolari is definitely the player I was leaning towards. Just a defensive lineman, because JPP is getting older and Ndamukong Suh is getting older. I think that they need someone on that D line just to continue that legacy almost. I like that pick.
yeah.
I mean,
That
crazy
ends.
enough,
Oh man,
no running backs in the first
no
round.
running backs in the first round.
Wow.
No running backs.
That will be in the thumbnail. So if you clicked on that, that's. But I doubt you made it to the end. But if you did, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to comment down below your picks. We always get so many comments. I think we hit like 150 comments in our last mock draft. Get a ton of which helps us out so much. Obviously, that mock draft. More content, more off-season stuff as the season ended. We can put more time into different kind of stuff, more breaking news videos will be coming soon. And obviously, if you guys are new, we do edited videos, not just unedited mock drafts. So we have very good content, just not just this stuff. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time.
See you guys.